Hello, hello, hello. Hi, welcome. I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Primetime. Thank you so much for tuning in for us today. Today, our show is Preparing for the Future. Preparing for the future. You know, a lot of us live from day to day. We don't think about tomorrow or what's going to happen tomorrow. We're just living for today. And that's what young people do. That's what children do. They do things right now and don't think about the consequences that's going to happen in an hour or two. Okay. We have to do better. We have to think about the consequences of our actions. We have to think about what we're going to do and what's going to happen to us in the future, because we can't just live day to day, because it doesn't exactly work that way. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about today, preparing for the future. And there is so much we have to think about in preparing for the future, even as far as clothes, utilities, cars, whatever. You know, we have to prepare for the future, because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to be working next week or not. So you got to have some money saved. You don't know if your leg's going to be attached to you. You need to be prepared. Well, whatever comes up, we need to be prepared. So we're going to talk about that, preparing for the future. In the meantime, we're going to talk about my book, Power Thoughts, Empowering You to Be Successful in Life. And in that book, we do talk about preparing for the future. Okay? And the power thought for today: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that is our topic for today. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Mr. Reggie Drama, so he can help us with this topic. Hi, Reggie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. What's up, Miss Sylvia? And what's up? This is the Good News at Primetime audience out there. Y'all looking good. Definitely want everybody to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button over there. But we got a powerful topic. When you think about the future, sometimes it don't look like it goes by that fast. You know,
Right.
this year is already more than halfway over.
Mm-hmm.
And last year went by quick. Looked like we were just getting ready for 2020. So it doesn't take long for time to go by, and time waits on nobody. And we have to put ourselves in position so that we could live our best life.
Yeah, you're right. And you know, I think about it, it's like the COVID was 3 years ago. It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Oh,
Three
yes, you're
years
right.
ago, it was. It's like, dang, where do time go? No, so
And you know,
go ahead.
look like the older you get, it goes by quicker. Now you know when you're young, it look like it drags because
Mm,
you look like a whole day goes slow and look like the month goes slow. Your birthdays is gaps, but once you get, you know, look like once you get into the 20s and time starts ticking. Just like you say, with young people, you kind of take for granted that you're gonna always be here, you're gonna always have good health, and you take for granted that the people you know and love gonna always be here.
right,
Many people that we started out in 2020, they no longer here. Many people I started out with in 2010, they no longer here. When I go back home, classmates, people I work with from the 2000, this 20 years ago, 23 years ago, a lot of those folk are
mm-hmm.
not here. People in different situations. It ain't all doom and gloom. Now some people they rolling hard, they looking good.
Yeah,
They suited and booted. I mean, good health, good wealth. You know, so it's you could say it's a roll of the dice, but for those that kind of prepare, they get better results.
yeah, yeah. You're right. And when you're saying when you're talking about people are not being here, and that's one of the things you want to prepare for losing people. You know, uh, and not so much as losing, but you want to get that time in with people. Cause I'm gonna tell you, I'm guilty of this. I had a cousin. When I went home, he was a little sickly. I didn't get a chance to see him. I said, I go visit him when I come back. But you know what?
Mm,
He passed away before I could come back to see him.
wow.
So and it make you feel guilty because you didn't go see that person. So you can't just take time for granted. If you have an opportunity to go see somebody, go see them. Brighten up their life. Because a lot of time people be glad to see you, especially if you've gone away. They
Oh
be glad
yeah,
to
yeah,
see,
yeah.
hi, how you doing? And they go tell somebody so and so came to see
Guess
me.
who here? Guess
You
who
know,
here?
uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
so take that time out to brighten somebody's life and enjoy the moment. Because you never know, that moment may not come anymore.
Right.
So it is so important, even with your children. Take the time to spend with your children, hold conversations with them, because one day they're gonna be up and gone, and you're gonna be wanting to hold those conversations. They're gonna be gone into their own little world and their own little life, and it's like you done left me out. Have I been forgotten? But use that time when you can. So
Well,
that's important.
you know, like we said earlier, time waits on nobody. You might think you got all the time in the world, but it can go by so quick, so fast. And one of the other things about time, uh, it's good not to hold a lot of grudges and things like that, because
Hmm.
I've seen people that didn't get a chance to apologize or didn't get a chance to reconsole themselves and get back on accord. Sometimes the one that's living feels real bad if you had an argument the last time you were with a friend, a loved one, or a sibling. Y'all had an argument or disagreement. Well, it's good to try not to focus on so many trivia things. If you can go through life, and I'm not saying you go around hunky dory all the time. You always gonna have some issues, problems, but I always try to keep it moving. You know, and even when calling people are one of the things that we've been doing over the last couple of years is getting in contact with people that we hadn't touched bases with before in a long time. You
Hmm.
know, contacts. I try to uh, make sure I'm no more than 6 months away from talking to different people. Family members, I try to be like within a month. At first, that sounded kind of cold. But they said, I remember my mom, she said, "You mean to tell me you got me on a monthly call?" I had it down. I said, "Mom, you know one thing, on the 30th of every month, I'm gonna give you a call." Now,
Uh-huh.
even though I was able to fill in the blanks and call her back more often, what it did, at least 12 times a year, I was going to be in touch with my close family members, my brothers, my sister, my cousin, my mom, and my dad. At first, it seemed kind of awkward when I first told them. This has been 20, 30 years ago. And they say,
Mhm.
yeah, don't put me on no schedule, you know. But, it's some people, if you don't make time for it, time will get away from you. And before you know it,
Yeah.
it's 2 months since you made a call. Now, most people call their mom, but you might be 2 months before you call your dad or a cousin or even a close sibling because you don't have a routine for doing it. So you have to set aside some time and prepare and play, just like you do for planning for health, planning for retirement. You got to plan on keeping those relationships open.
Yeah, and if you don't keep in contact with them, you miss out on a lot of things too. Like weddings, birthday parties, celebrations. You miss out on
Yes.
those things if you don't keep in contact with your family members. So that's important right there. You know,
And
and
then, that's when some people get kind of dusty rushed. They be like, well, you didn't invite me to this. They didn't invite me for that. Well, sometimes you gotta reach out and keep yourself in the loop, especially as you get older, because people, like you say, your kids, if you're this, it's, and I say it for a lot of guys, some guys are grumpy dumpy, just grumpy dumpy.
mm-hmm.
At some point, your kid's gonna be like, well, I don't want to go by granddad because every time I see him, he got a problem, grumpy dumpy, complaining about the kids, telling them they got to do this. So before you know it, they not spending time with them now. If that, especially in males, if that male doesn't keep in touch with the family before you know it, it's 2 years that goes by.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in touch with his family. Before you know it, it's a regular deal where they don't say nothing. Especially now, people don't mail letters. Back in the day, I would mail letters to my mom, my grandma, you know, those folk. But today, if you don't stay in the loop, if you say, well, I don't do social media, I don't do this, I don't do that, I don't want nobody doing this. Before you know it, because you didn't get involved, you will be forgotten.
Yeah.
And they'll be saying, well, what happened to Uncle So and so? That man, he died. And he was dead for about a month before they found out he was dead. His co-workers didn't, because I've seen that happen. You know, that's why you have to prepare for the future. Things like that, especially
Yeah.
if you kind of like women.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine passed where he was dead 5 years before I found out. It's
Whoa.
like, whoa. And I really felt bad because years earlier he was there for me. And then when I
Mm-hmm.
saw his brother, I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "Oh, he been dead for 5 years." My
Ah,
heart
yeah.
sunk. It's
Mm.
like, dad, you know. And it happens like that, because everybody get off into doing their own thing and they forget about people. So we can't
Yeah.
let that happen, especially now since we're becoming seniors. You're gonna have those lonely days, and if you don't have friends and have that social network, you're gonna be lonely. So it's
And
always
and
good
not
to have those friends and associates and family members you can reach out to and
yeah,
just
and not
communicate
to get
with.
in, not to get hard doom and gloom, but men, especially when it comes down to relationships, as they get older, those are ones because that get left. I've gone to many senior homes visiting people, and the guys are normally in the corner. Now sometimes people forget about mama, they forget about auntie, you know, they forget about little sister, big sister, but a lot of times men get forgotten over 70% of the time. If they were not connected to the family, a lot of guys that had kids, they said, man, I had about 8 kids. Don't none of them come see me. Don't none of them come see me. Because they didn't spend time with them when they was growing. They don't know him. In a way, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And that's when you're in a position where you start to feel it, that a time catches up with you and you not as accessible to people. I just saw a movie with and it's been out a long time. Clint Eastwood. It's kind of weird. It's called A Mule, but
A
he was an
mule?
older guy. The Mule.
The mule. Okay.
The Mule. Yes, he's an older guy. Well, he's 90 years old anyway. He plays an older guy, but he had gotten a little disarray with his family. But anyway, one of the things he finds out is as he goes through, and he did some other stuff in there. But one of the key points of the movie was the fact that his daughter hadn't spoke to him in like 12 years. He missed the wedding because he was
Mm-hmm.
doing a business trip or something, you know. And the
Mm.
granddaughter was trying to hold on to him, and then finally he was in a position where uh, he could have gone either way, but he did see his ex-wife before she died. Not to give the movie away or anything like that, but the whole point was this guy during the prime time of his family, he had missed them. You know, 12, 15 years of marriage, they didn't know daddy.
Dad.
It's sad. Oh yeah,
Yeah. Because he was out working.
yeah,
Yeah. And then that's what I tell people. I'm going, work is important, but family is too. Don't
right.
don't work so much because a lot of people they would rather have you there than you being off working. You know, at least
So
I would. You know,
somebody got to keep the lights on.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Working is important, but that
yeah.
family and that bonding is also important because
Oh
you
yeah,
miss
yeah, definitely.
everything. You miss graduations, you miss recitals, you miss ball games, you miss everything when you're on the road all the time. You miss that bonding. Your children don't bond to you. If you gone all the time and like if you get sick, and the wife is gone, they ain't gonna really feel obligated to take care of dad because dad wasn't there.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know, so
yeah.
so that's something to think about. Well, I wasn't there for my kids. I don't blame them if they just put me in an old folks home. You don't really want to be in the old folks home. Your last days, you want to be with family. At least I would, of course. I don't want to be on burden on anybody, but I definitely don't want to go to an old folks home. You
Mm,
know,
okay. Well, they don't call them. And another thing, planning in families, and this is a biggie because families are scattered all around, and it can be difficult in a family, especially amongst siblings, mama and daddy.
mm-hmm.
Now, if your parents are together, mommy and daddy together, you know, whoever is there is taking care of the other one. But
Yeah,
in cases where uh, either uh, the couple is separated, and when they're in there, they late the golden years. Uh, Everybody handles stuff differently. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
yeah,
and then when they do uh, reach a point in their life where they can no longer take care of themselves, you know, the sibling that's further away can always make a decision and say, "Hey, put it in a." They don't say old folk home, but a
convalescent
place
home,
where
senior living.
convalescent home, because they working. They might be 4 or 5 hours away from uh their parents, so that makes more sense. Plus, they might be the one with the money, so they say, you know what, uh, we're gonna put mama, we're gonna put daddy in this place. They're gonna take care of them, and you got to have that discussion with your family member. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
and and sometimes because of the selfishness of different people in the family, because I know many families, and these are people my age, when their mothers and fathers start to reach the 80s and 90 years old. Some of those guys were incapacitated. If they were left in the hometown, they were either on drugs or they were homeless. And
mm,
the person that had a job might have been in Atlanta or might be in DC or Chicago. So they say, you know what? Mama don't want to come up here with me. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of old folks don't want to travel. They
Right.
want to keep her down there, and they say, but I know my brother, he on that thing. I can't leave her. I'm not gonna leave mama with him. Or it could be a sister. I know what my sister do. I know what type of behavior she had. I'm not gonna leave her with mama. So I'm gonna put mama in a place where she can be monitored and taken care of. So that's why, you got to have that discussion with your family. It's like life insurance, wills, all those things. We got to talk about it because when that day come, even and this is a decision we had to make with my mother, whether to resuscitate or not. Now some people get caught up. Oh, no matter what, we got to save mama. But once you know all of the different things that happen, you might say to yourself, you say, well, there's especially if they 90 something years old and they try to resuscitate them, they're gonna end up killing them anyway.
Yeah.
Because if they try CPR, they're gonna break real. Even a healthy person, you do CPR on them, you're gonna crack or do some damage to the rib cage and the sternum. So you got to be thinking about these things. But some family members, they'll get all caught up because nobody had that discussion, nobody talked about it, and when that day came, they had to react, and it wasn't good. So that's
Yeah.
why a lot of families be upset, mad, all kind of stuff with each other.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted it's important to discuss that with your kids if you want to be resuscitated, or what
Yes,
happens if I can't take care of myself? What I want you to do? Some
yes,
as far as do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? That's going into planning too. Because
yeah,
some people don't want to be buried. Some people say, cremate me. I don't want to be buried. Just cremate me.
yeah.
Then, there those
Well,
who don't.
uh, especially in black communities, cremation, you know, during my grandmother's days, I say prior to 2000, wasn't a lot of black folk getting cremated.
Right.
After 2000 came, because I remember cremation was like $300. Now it's about 1,500 to cremate you, put you in one of them Europe.
Mm.
Well, cause factors changed a lot, and when the AIDS came on, when the AIDS came about, that that kind of got a lot of black people more into that area because a lot of funeral homes didn't want to embalm you. So
They didn't
by
want to.
default, when AIDS when it, during the prime AIDS crisis,
Uh-huh.
one of the reasons black folks started getting cremated was because funeral homes didn't want to handle bodies that had people that had died of AIDS.
Ah, I didn't
So
know
they
that.
started cremating. Oh yeah. It was awful. I mean, yeah, yes, this across the globe.
Hmm.
From Detroit down south, funeral homes didn't want to handle AIDS related deaths. So they started cremating a lot of people, black people. And that's
Hmm.
when we started, because we hadn't had that conversation. Like I said, my grandmother's day, that wasn't even thought about. Most people had a taboo in their head. They said, "You're not gonna burn me up. I don't want to volunteer to go to hell."
Yeah.
That's how we was thinking. But you got to have all these conversations. Life insurance, what you gonna do with the house?
Hmm.
Some of the biggest problem is what to do with the house when the big mama, grandmama, auntie die.
Yeah.
There in my hometown, there are many homes that nobody can touch. They in probate
Yeah. And that's
because
why you need to do those wills. Have a will
yeah,
put in place for it, or do a trust. A trust. If you put a trust on your house, that will keep you from having to pay capital tax. I think that's what it is when you get the
mhm,
house. So put a trust and then name whoever you want to have as beneficiaries, and they'll keep that out of probate right there doing the
right,
trust.
yeah,
So that's important right there, because a lot of times kids say, "Mama wanted me to have the house." No, she wanted me to have it. And they're fussing over it. So it's
yeah,
important to have that in writing with that
yeah,
trust or the will. You
yeah.
know.
And even when it comes down to caregivers, because as people get older, see, a will can change in 30 days. just like
Mm-hmm.
that. I've seen a situation where the caregiver, and this was in conversation, the person was like, you just like a son to me. I'm gonna give you this house. Well, the lady had, gotten into age, and she was at a convalescent home, and the person that was taking care of her every day, that's the person she woke up and saw every day, even though her daughter was paying for it, you know, her daughter was paying for, because, through uh, so many things, because even after Medicaid and Medicare, to get in a nice convalescent home, you got to put some money up. You got to pony some money up. So her
Mm-hmm.
daughter was paying the balance of the money. Well, her mother did just probably said it, because she had developed Alzheimer's and different things. She said, "I'm gonna give you my house," and that guy was caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? He stayed upset with the family because he said they took my house. Miss So and So had gave me that house. Now she can say she gonna give you the house all day long, but if that's not in the will, you ain't gonna get it. Especially you not a family member. He
Right.
had nothing to stand on. You know,
Right.
so again, if you fail to plan, you accept chaos and disorder.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to do that. And the living will, you need a living will too. Especially with that living will, you designate a person to make those decisions for you in case you're incapacitated and can't do. And you also need to write out your prescriptions, what medicines you are allergic to, and all of that kind of stuff. Because everybody, even children, sometimes don't know what medicine their parents are allergic to and what they can and
Right,
cannot take. So you need
right,
to write all of that down so they can have it in case of an emergency. Because I just found out just before my mom died that she had tiny crawling veins, and she died what, 6 years ago? I just found out all these years. I didn't know. And I was in the hospital with her when I found out. I'm going, oh, that's where I got that from. Because I have tiny crawling veins. I didn't know I inherited it from my mom. So it's important to know these things. The allergies that they may have, or you know, that's important too. Cause you might go in the hospital and the doctors think one thing is going on, but if you're there and you can speak for that person, you say no, this person have this condition and this happens. So that would enlighten the doctors, so they won't be misdiagnosed. So that's important right there. Not to be misdiagnosed and getting the right
well,
treatment.
yeah, and look, I know, we and this is critical that we have these discussions within family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what are people's wishes, and I'm not saying I'm doing it, but I have to be more proactive in making sure that if I left, anything could happen because time time can go, and one moment you could be in the right mind, the right mindset, you could have a healthy body, and the next moment you could be just like that. You go
Yeah.
down just like that. Well, there would be people that come with good intentions a lot of times, in situations where, and I've seen it happen. There was a guy, and he died. He
Mm.
had a wife and 3 girlfriends, and this brother was doggone 70 some years old.
Uh.
Prime guy, but he hadn't established protocol. You know what happened? Them women went nuts, and I saw a brother that he was he was in order. This guy had, even at his homegoing service, they had
Uh-huh.
about 4 or 5 different homegoing service. He one of the ladies he was dealing with held a homegoing service for him.
Uh.
But
You
they
want
knew
each
about
one
each
of them
other.
to hold one?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they decided to do. And then they came together for the final resting. I mean, they treated this brother like a king. Uh, but he had addressed all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Now, some people, if you know, like in the case of the guy that had a wife, an ex-wife, and then he had another girlfriend that he had been dating for a long time, and then uh, the new girlfriend. Well, even though he wasn't dating all of them at the same time, when he died, they went because they didn't have a clear understanding. The ex-wife came with her drama, the ex-girlfriend came with her drama, and this new one was the one that said, "Well, I took care of him in his last couple of years of his life. Where y'all been?" You know what I'm saying? But again, having that discussion, talking about what you want and making stuff clear. So, you know, that's a biggie. Uh,
Yeah.
Also, you know, everything, you know, like I said, our health, you know, we can try to be here. At some point, we're gonna die. I
Yeah.
don't care how many vitamins you take. I don't care how super whatever. You're gonna go, and at some point, you might not even know you're here.
Yeah.
One of my mother's friends stayed in a coma for 7 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she was bedridden in a coma status. Didn't know she was on the planet.
Mm.
But she was fortunate because she only had one son. And he did all the power of attorney, all that type of stuff, and he kept her alive. Now you can imagine, I've seen scenarios where people say, man, mama, she don't know she in the world. Uh, she's suffering. And they'll say, pull the plug. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
see, this is where a lot of families, when we see people upset, mad, all this type of stuff, and you know, it's a whole lot of different things that people did not discuss, even when it comes down to insurance policy on people. Uh, uh, there are people in the family that are proactive. You know what I'm saying? They say, okay, I know uh, 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 Uncle Drum is, you know, he out there, he a single man. Uh, don't look like he got, you know, I don't know if he got any way to bury himself. So I could have a sister that says, I'm gonna take a life insurance policy out on him. Now anybody can take a life insurance policy out for almost anybody.
Yeah.
Now, now it might sound bad because they said, man, she took a life insurance policy out on my uncle and couldn't wait to cash it in. But she did that in order to bury this guy when he
Mm-hmm.
died. Because see,
Yeah.
everybody not thinking like that. GoFundMe is not a plan.
Nope,
Okay,
it's
it's
not.
not. It's
And then
not.
if they don't have those policies, then everybody gonna be trying to come up with money, and half of the people gonna say, "I don't have any money," you know, and the
Yeah.
burden's gonna go on one person. You might have to borrow money to bury somebody, so
Yeah.
that's not a
Oh.
good thing either.
Well, now think about this. Now, uh, all this came out in the one good thing about older people. They prepared. They bought a cemetery plot. You know, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They prepared to die for eternity. Whatever. Well, in modern time, because of people's financial situation, and sometimes people just want to be big baller, be with Big Willie. They will rent you a casket and a tombstone
Mm.
just
I didn't
for
know
the
you could
day.
rent a
Oh
tombstone.
yeah. Because you might be that family that said, well, we wanted, you might have some, you might. They said, well, it come out better. You could pay $8,000 for this casket and another 2,000 for this, and when we throw them in the ground, threw away about 30 grand.
Mm.
Or you can
That's
rent
too
this
much.
casket. No, you can rent this casket for about 2 grand, take care of the funeral and everything like that, and we'll cremate him later.
Yeah. Yeah,
These but
it's
these are real life things that people have to decide. Because some people say, well, he was a big baller. Uh, you know, uh, it's all kinds of things. But anyway, bottom line, we have to be a lot more proactive in everything. Like you said, in your finances. Uh,
mm-hmm,
you ain't gonna be able to work forever. Okay, it
right.
is what it is. There's
Yeah,
many people.
and with that financing, you definitely, because a lot of people, they call themselves working under the cover and all of that kind of stuff, and that not putting in Social Security. And sometimes people call themselves being self-employed all their lives, and then when they get older and can't work, then they don't have any money to draw on.
Right.
So that it's important that you plan. You put money in Social Security, and hopefully it'll be there when you get ready for it. So you have that, and those who are contributing to Social Security, hopefully you have other finances also saving. Like 401k or just a savings account or CDs or something else. To bring in money, because that Social Security may not be it. It
Yeah.
might be just a
Well,
little bit. You know,
unfortunately, we live in a society where some people hope they can die on the job.
yeah. We see,
People say,
that
well,
wasn't
because
me.
you see, well, no, you see some people. They say, man, you could have been gone, man. You know, they know their situation. You know, time.
Hmm.
Uh, that's why, you know, and it's the older people always tell the young people, baby, time, time gonna catch up with you. And when it does, you could get frustrated, especially when your health declines.
Yeah.
And all kind of things. When you look at it, I always remember this lady. She said, "Drummer, when I retire, I'm gonna get me a Mercedes XYZ car." Well, when she retired, her medical bills were like $700 a month,
Whoa.
medical. So she couldn't get that Mercedes.
Right.
You see, because her medical, and she was a no, she was a single woman that she retired when she was like 50 something, and she didn't know she was gonna have. She said, "I'm gonna travel the world and this and that." And now, I don't know what she's doing now, but what I'm saying, she had prepared, and even though she got a decent retirement and everything like that, a good portion of her, but she still got enough money. She ain't got a Mercedes, but you know what I'm saying. She just said that her medical bills were bigger than a
Yeah.
car note.
Yeah. And
So
one of the things people need to do too is take care of their bodies. The way I always tell them, if you
yeah,
take care of your body will take care of you. And people,
yeah,
they treat their bodies any kind of way and put anything in there. And when you talk to them about stuff and they say, I got to die of something, I got to die of
oh,
something, but then when it's coming time for when your health fail you, you're going to regret that. You're going to regret not
and,
having eaten the right foods or putting all those drugs in there, because
yeah,
people don't understand when you doing drugs, you working your organs and they fail. That's how
overwork.
people get kidney failure, from the drugs they put in there,
Well,
or the liver problem from over drinking, and you don't eat enough vegetables in there to give your body the strength that it needs to keep going. You need to take care of your body. If you plan to
yeah.
live with it, because that's the only body you're gonna have.
When
You
you
ain't gonna
get
have another body
no,
body
no,
to live with.
unless you got enough money to clone and take your DNA and put it in something else, but that's about 50 years away. But you just said another important thing. A lot of people are carrying the weight of people that did not prepare. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are carrying the weight of people that did not prepare in all kind of stuff. If you're a young person and you didn't prepare yourself in school, you're going to be at the burden and the mercy of whoever can take care of you, your family. You see a lot of young people got to stay with grandmama, big mama. Grandmama can't even go on vacation because she got to take care of this grown behind person because they can't get a job. They sit around the house and just suck up air. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this the burden, that's in a case of somebody that could be productive and not doing nothing, not cleaning up around the house, not making nothing happen. Then you got a situation where you got a lady right now taking care of her brother. Her brother abused his body about 60% of his life. From the time he was from 15 on up to almost 70, he's done everything he could possibly do to destroy his body. Well, his uh unfortunately wife died. He had 2 children, and they just didn't have the fortitude to take care of it. So he had to come live with his sister, you know,
Yeah.
and she got and developed additional health problems because of him. So anytime you don't prepare, you can become a burden on somebody else. And this is something too, and I just have to put it out. That's why some people, once they get now I believe, once they get, if they feel they can't take care of themselves, either financially, some people sexually, uh, health wise, they will end their life. Suicide rates are up for older people that could not take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Suicide rates are up, even for younger people that don't think they got a chance. But I believe that we do have a chance. Uh, as long as you got breath in your body, you got a chance. And you might have to change up some of your, rediscipline yourself. But we do have a chance. Anybody that's out there, not to just throw doom and gloom on them. You got a chance right now to get yourself in order before the first of the year. You say, you know what, man, no, maybe I don't have a big Social Security check coming. Maybe my health is on the decline. But there are certain things I can do to get myself in a better position. You might have to pull back on some of the things you're doing. For instance, if you got financial disorders, that's a health disorder. Your finances
Mm-hmm.
just jacked up. You in financial cardiac arrest. You got to either do one or two things: stop spending money or make more money. Now, if you're in a position where you can make more money, make more money. Okay? If you're in a position
Yeah.
where you can't make more money, stop spending money. If you're in a position, you can always curb back and discipline yourself and put yourself in a position where you don't have to be so much on the mercy of so many people. There's an elderly guy. He's about 80 something years old. I think his now this brother, this guy is about 80 something years old. Well, he's close to 90, but he's lived with different family members. One thing that's consistent with him, he got money coming in. He don't work, but he got a check. That check might be $1,200 a month. Now there's some family members that say, well, Uncle Ed, he down in the basement. He don't bother nobody. He got his own little routine. He's still functional because he drives. He got he's like a deacon at a church, so he got something to do every week.
Mm-hmm.
He's deeply involved. He got something to do, so he cleans up around the church and all kind of stuff. He's 90 some years old, staying in a not uh, uh like a rooming house in a way, but it's with one of his great grandchildren. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But he put himself in a position where they don't mind taking care of, because one thing, he got some money. Even though it
Right.
ain't about 1,200 a month. I'm saying $1,200 will knock a lot of stuff off. If you're getting 1,200, somebody dropping $1,200 in your household, you do not mind taking care of it. Especially if they
Right.
don't bring a lot of drama to the situation. He down in there, and right now, they say Uncle Bob, he do what he do. He'll call us if he need us. We don't even know he down there. Sometimes
Mm.
he bring his little girl. I say, he's 90 some years old, got his little lady friends come in there, they have some tea, and she go home, and he, whatever. But you have to prepare for the future, and that's in your health
Yeah.
and your finances, uh, you know,
And your social life.
you have your
Because
social life.
you got to have a social life, because you don't want to be at home and nobody to talk to, nobody to call up, nobody come visit you or anything like that. So you want to keep in contact with people that you know, be it family members or just friends. You got to have a social life, you know.
Well, you bring up a good point. If and I've seen, and I must bring up men. Men have a tendency to be less social the older they get. Okay.
Mm,
Now, on some situations, men die early. So when men die early, uh, you know, a lot of guys die early. So
yeah.
they got a building surrounding. But what happens when a guy outlives all of his coworkers he used to know, all of his military guys used to know, whatever he was in. If he wasn't involved in something like a church, a mosque, a temple, or some type of Masonic or fraternity, he doesn't have an outlet to constantly bring people in. There's a guy, I'm not gonna call him fraternity that he's part of, but he's about 90 some years old. Now that brother still steps. You know, he still dresses up in all the paraphernalia and stuff. He stays pretty
Mm,
active.
oh,
I
yeah.
know a lady that's a teacher. Matter of fact, I can't even think of her name. She was teaching. I almost said when my mama was. You see, she was my mama's about 90 something, but she still teaches. She's 90 something years old
Mm,
now. She's become involved into helping young people, and that gears her
yeah.
up. She's spirited. So look at the new people that she meets. She's constantly bringing in new people, because most of the time when you get around, especially if you live 70, 80 years old, you might outlive most of the people you know.
Yeah.
You know, when I go to class reunions, you know, now my class reunions, they're right there. But when if we make it to 80 or 90 years old, that's when people. I just had my cousin. He was one of my great cousins, 87 years old. His class, there was only 5 people left in his class, high
Really?
school graduation class. They had a high school graduation class of 200 some people, and only 5 of them left. He was
Dang.
number 6. Now, so you see what the numbers do as we get older. That
Yeah.
means that you have to develop other relationships. Some people develop relationships with their doctors.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lady that she was 97 years old, and she was in a hospice, or what you call old folk home. Every day she got up, she picked some flowers. She dropped one by the receptionist. She dropped one in the cafeteria, and she dropped one in the little place where they read the Bible.
Mm.
Now, she been doing this for like 20 something years. She done found something to do. So you got to figure, people say, well, I'm going to retire and I'm going to go fishing. Well, I know a guy, once he retired, his fishing buddies, 2 of them died.
Mm.
Well, he didn't want to go fishing no more. You know
Well,
what I'm
you got to
saying?
find somebody else to go fishing with
Right,
you.
yes, yes.
Yeah, you got to. Because I know friends I had, they disappeared. People come in your life for a season, and then they disappear. So you have to get more friends. But like now, one of the people I associate with is one of my kids' teachers. You know, associate with the teacher. Uh, kids, kids bring about folks. So your children's friends parent, become your friends. When you go to church, whoever's in the choir and you're in the choir, they become your friend. Your co-workers become your friends or associates. You join an organization, you got more people to collaborate with. So, they keep coming. You just got to be open and don't just stand off to yourself. You got to open up, have conversation, go out for tea or something, to have that friendship so you won't be lonely. You can get on the phone. Hi, how you doing? Did you go get some tea today or something? And you talk about the cake or you talk about the grandchildren. There's stuff to talk about. Old folks, sometimes they don't always go out, but they're on the phone talking. I know my mom was on the phone constantly talking, talking, talking. She didn't go that much, but she was still communicating with people. So that's important right there. And then every now and then somebody come and visit her or she go out and see somebody. So having that social effect, it's important. It keep you going. It definitely
So,
keep you going.
like you say, then we just look at different areas of life, preparing as time moves around. We have to find time and make time to for longevity. Okay. Matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
people are living longer. People are developing more things. For one thing, a bucket list. Back in my grandmother's day, they weren't thinking about a bucket list. I probably could have asked my grandma, even though she did go some different places, but and I think about my granddaddy, you know, after the military, I don't think he went outside of Albany. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think. I mean, that's just my thinking. Now, today, people prepare to do more things. Because if you want to live longer, you're going to have to embrace a whole lot of different things that not to say you're going to have to be a part of everything just willy nilly, but you're going to have to embrace some stuff that uh, you're going to have to overcome some of these obstacles. For instance, there was a lady, she went out to California with us. She was 90 years old. She was an active senior. She wasn't like a regular on a cane senior. I didn't say she going out there. She drink just a little wine, but she was in control. But she could walk, she could enjoy, and she wanted to see a lot. You know what I'm saying? But this is the lifestyle as an older adult that she was doing. Now some people at 90, they like, I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to leave the house. You know, all I want you to do is just bring me some soup. Well, uh, that's going to be a harder person to uh, to adjust to things. You know what I'm saying? The,
Yeah.
the the more flexible you are, especially as you get older, because one lady, she's 90 something years old, and she still stays by herself, lives
Mm.
by herself, gets around, all that type stuff. Well, one of her great granddaughters comes by and look after her and all that type stuff. But she sets it up where people can do that with her. You know what I'm saying? She's not
Yeah.
an ornery type, miserable old lady. They don't mind coming by seeing her. She cooking cakes or pies and stuff, all that type stuff. And so she's got just enough tempo to make sure that somebody comes by to see her on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
we have to. You just don't get these things by osmosis, whether it's financial, relationship. You got to build those things while you're healthy enough and got your faculties, your mind.
Yeah. And one of the other things you need to do also is make a list of your friends and contact numbers. So if somebody tried to call you, if like for instance, like my daughter tried to reach me and she can't get a hold of me. I didn't tell her I was going out of town or anything. Maybe she could call one of my friends. Have you seen my mama? Or if I passed away and she want to let all my friends know, I have that list given out to her already, who to contact in case I pass away. So that's important too, because sometimes people are in situations and they disappear and nobody know anything. So like if I went to the store and disappeared and nobody knew where I was, somebody gonna have a list of phone numbers to call. Did you see such and such? When was the last time you heard from them? Or somebody can know how to go into the house or something. We need that wellness check. That's what it is. We need a wellness check at all times, at least once a week. Because I've known for people to be in their house dead for a whole month and nobody knew. So that's not good. That is not good. So people need to be in contact with somebody at all times, at least once a week, at least. So that is important. And also saving for a rainy day. So that was another thing. You don't spend all your money, because you never know when an emergency will come along, or you might
Right.
not be able to make any more money. So you got to save, for that rainy day. That is so important to do. Yeah.
And what we in a generation where people make more money than their ancestors, But one of the things that, and I just use my grandmother. Now she would be 116 if she was still living. But
Uh-huh.
people in that age group, they made sure they took care of themselves. They made sure they had one decent outfit if they had to go to the hospital. Okay. Yeah, I always
Mm-hmm.
remember my grandmother. She had this, and even something to be buried in. They didn't have to go through all that stuff talking about what we're gonna put her in. She already, had did this, years. Just, you know, and we have to have these conversations. Finances, people, it's hard. There was a lady. You can't make this up. She went to this church, and when she died, her daughter thought that she was going to be buried at that church. Well, her mother didn't want to be buried by that pastor. She was still a member of that church, but
Uh-huh.
the guy that she wanted to bury her was at another church.
Mm.
So they had to have her mother's funeral at this other guy's church. You see what I'm saying? And people like,
Yeah.
well, I thought mommy wanted to be this the church she went to for the last 40. But the pastors had to be an understanding because both pastors did a part of her, when they preach over you when you die.
Yeah.
But it was cleared up because they they had that understanding. Her daughter knew that was her mother's wish, even though some other family members and church members didn't know. Well, why they didn't put her here? Well, we got to make a lot of stuff clear. And I think one of the things for anybody out there, whether it's your finances, whether it's your health, whether it's people that have died, people didn't know they had cancer.
Mm.
The lady, her mama died, and she didn't know her mama had cancer. She said, your mama had cancer, breast cancer for the last 4 years.
Yeah. Didn't communicate.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes they
it's
don't want to worry them with that kind of stuff.
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the thing. But then that's a decision right there because her mother was in a position where when she did die, she was taken care of and all that type of stuff. But we have to be addressing so many areas now. Our health, there's a lady. We can't make this up. She was uh, incapacitated, but she had some cats. Well, when she went to the senior citizen place, you can't take them cats with you.
Right.
I mean, it sound they had to kill the cat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they call it euthanization, but
Yeah.
eventually they killed it. Basically, I mean, you got cats that are old and they grumpy dumpy. It's sad, but when she reached the point where she could no longer take care of herself, one of her uh, daughters came in and killed all the cats.
Dad.
Yeah,
Okay. Not give
yeah.
them away, just kill them, huh?
She was from up north and she came down. She had to do stuff in a timely manner. Nobody
Yeah.
had a plan. Nobody knew what to do because she said, well, it's going to cost $30 a month per cat. She had 8 cats. 30 times 8 is like $240. Nobody had the money to pony up to take care of the cat.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So yeah, so she said, cat's kind of old. Bam, boom, boom, boom. But in the absence of a plan, somebody else is going to come in and implement their plan. That's anything. If you don't have a plan in school, you don't know what you want to do when you leave school. Trust me, you're gonna go to jail, you're gonna steal. They used to send you to the military, or you're gonna be on the streets. If you don't have a game plan in life for something, you're gonna be at the mercy of whatever show up.
Yeah, and
And it's not gonna be nice.
that's one of the problems with the young people who dropping out of school, and they don't want to get an education. They don't think about the future when they decide they want to change their life and get married and have children. You know, those you got to feed those kids. You got to put a roof over their head. You got to take care of your wife. How are you going to do it without an education or no kind of training? So you got to get some kind of training or get some kind of education under your belt to prepare for the future so you can take care of your family. And that is so important, right? That they don't think about that. All they say, I don't like school, but what school is good for you, or some kind of training, become an entrepreneur, if nothing else, rather than just trying to steal from everybody else. I don't have it, so I'm gonna take yours. That's not a good plan. You can end up in the grave trying to take somebody's stuff. The special they work hard for. No, that's not a good plan at all. No.
Right.
So, get an education. That is so important. Get an education. And another thing that people don't think about either is food. Huh?
Learn the trade. One thing, and this is critical. There are many people that even if you some young people get so much in debt by going to school, secondary education, until they almost want to take suicide once they figure out they ain't got no money to pay up that student loan. We got people 20-something years because they didn't prepare. They didn't prepare to get a scholarship. They didn't prepare to do something. And then when they did go to school, they hopped over this and hopped over that, signed up for this and signed up for that. Next thing you know, they defaulted on all these loans. Again, going back to preparing. And you have to start it at an early age. I mean, look how competitive America is. If you got a 3-year-old and that 3-year-old is not walking, he's going to have some problems. Because they got to figure out some way to get him into the system. They're going to either try to train him how to walk, teach him how to walk, or something. And there's certain standards at every age group. You can compare yourself. I do it from time to time, not to make myself feel bad, but to know where I stand with other people in my age group. What do they have? What have they accomplished? Yada, yada, yada. And sometimes you got to look at that. And even amongst your peers, you look and see what people doing and what you should be doing. So that way you can keep up or lead the pack. So all that's important. Planning. Yeah, if you fail to plan, you just reacting to life. And most people that react to life are miserable. And either they die early or they become a burden on society.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing people don't do is plan their food. Because if you go to the grocery store sometimes the shelves are empty. So I tell people, when you see stuff on sale, buy it, stock up, put it in your freezer, so you can have it, because you don't know when you might be out of work and you can't afford to buy anything. But if you have it already, you don't have that to worry about. So because time's going to get hard. They might not know it because, like the government paying farmers not to farm. So what did that mean? There's going to be a shortage. And I see that already. When I go to the grocery store and all the shelves are empty, it's like, where's the food? And then it costs so much. I went and bought some meatballs. One store, it was a handful of meatballs for $7 and something. Then I go to another store and get a handful of meatballs for half price, half of that, for $3 and something. So, these food prices is going up crazy. Now, you
like
got to be
you got to
prepared
prepare.
to save. Yeah.
If that means sometimes either you're gonna figure out how to reduce, share, expenses, costs, all kind of stuff. It's a lot of things as as we go through these numbers, get older. Even if you're a young couple, you got to be thinking, how am I going to be ready for the long run? I was sharing the other day. I saw 3 young people living out of a U-Haul. They got kicked out of their residence. They didn't have a game plan.
Right.
Okay, they did not have a game plan. They didn't have a strategy for surviving.
Yeah, you got to have that plan. You got to. So our time is up, and hopefully we've encouraged somebody to plan for the future, because like we said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And you got to plan your future, be it finances or whatever, be it your home, everything. You have to plan. Okay, so don't go lacking. Don't be caught short, because you didn't plan. Think about it. Even if you don't put everything in place, think about it in your head. Have an idea where you want to go, because it is so important that you plan for the future. Plan, plan, plan. Prepare for food. Prepare for gas. Know the right places to go get gas for your car. That's a plan right there. Because some places they charge more for gas per gallon than others. Plan. You got to plan. Okay, save your money. Don't spend all your money when you get it. If it's $1 a day or $10 a week, whatever, save some money for the future, because you never know when there's an emergency come up. You might break a heel on your shoe and you need a new pair of shoes. If you save for an emergency, you can buy yourself a new shoe, rather than just walking around with one bad shoe. Plan, okay? Lights might go out all of a sudden, or power might go out, or you never know. The stove might go out, hose might bust. You need money for emergency. So save for emergencies, plan for the future. Okay, if you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And also, don't forget my book, Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. You can get that book at AandKProductions.com. AandKProductions.com. You can get my book, Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. You can also Google the book and get it that way. But it is a good book. You will really enjoy. You will learn something from it, and you're gonna want everybody to read that book. Okay. And so until next time, we're gonna say y'all have a good one.